9 a.m. Good morning and welcome to our Thursday flow. So this morning, usually I sort of have more of a focus, but we just do a little bit of a mix of things this morning. We'll go with the flow. So welcome everybody, getting ourselves comfortable, beginning of our practice, taking our Shavasana, laying down on our mats and taking this full rest, total rest of both the mind and the body. So in my regular classes where I have real people in front of me, I usually talk about how when we take this rest, even say after a long day, we're usually resting the body, but we're not always giving that mind a time for rest. And that's one of the big things, the big pros of our practice of yoga, is it's a time to check in with our mind and just allow ourselves, especially while we're in this Shavasana at the beginning of our practice, to practice letting that mind be at rest. And we don't do that by trying to quieten it or try to get rid of thoughts or make it silence in there. It's about just letting go of trying to control whatever we've got going on this morning. So we can just allow whatever comes to come, whatever stays, allowing it to stay, and whatever goes, allowing it to go. So if we've got that busy mind, we're allowing it to be busy. It's one of the best ways that we can allow it to come to rest. So we're never in charge of our thoughts, certainly not entirely. But if we just leave it alone, if we stop our meddling or trying to make ourselves think a certain way or be a certain way, we just allow that resistance to relax off. It's like ripples on the top of a bowl of water. If we try to push them down with our hand, we just end up making more ripples. And we all would have experienced that if we've ever tried to go to sleep. By telling ourselves, go to sleep, go to sleep. It just makes us more awake and harder to get to sleep. But the more that we can rest and relax, stop our interfering, you just find that things come to rest on their own. It's the same with our physical practice. We can check in with the body from head to toe, giving ourselves this little scan, noticing where we're tight, where we're tense, where we're maybe injured, got anything going on in the body. Same approach, we're not trying to get rid of it, not trying to fix it, we're just here to look after it. By listening to what's going on and modifying our practice. We're not trying to modify or adjust our bodies to fit the pose. We adjust and modify our practice to fit our bodies. It's completely personal. We can modify, we can alter whatever we like this morning, as well as coming back to any rest that we'd like to take during our practice, especially in the comfort of our own homes. As we bring our awareness into the breath, and bring in this breath extension, these longer inhales, deeper inhales down to the belly. Nice long exhales. So giving this opportunity to take in this fresh oxygen. As we exhale, we're feeling ourselves soften down a little deeper into our mats. We use this breath as our guide for our practice. It can help us relax into our postures. We move in time with it. can also notice how comfortable we are in a posture or a pose by just noticing how at ease we are in the breath. If we find it staggered or tense, whatever position we're in, maybe just seeing if we can soften into it a little further. Notice how the breath eases. We want to be comfortable in any discomfort that we have during our practice. As we add a little wriggle to our fingers and toes, drawing those knees in towards the chest, squeezing in, taking our ball to start, our cannonball, knees to chest, swaying side to side, starting with this lower back. Mine's been tight this morning, so we might get into plenty of hips and hamstrings today. Teacher's choice. And we can start to take our circles or our figure eights. Freestyle that movement. Check in. If like me, you're prone to that lower back tightness, if you've been sitting down a lot, tight through the hips, the hamstrings, the hip flexors can create that compression between those lower vertebrae. It's not a comfortable feeling. You can just ease it out gently. Just moving through whatever's comfortable. We'll come back to center. We'll take our butterfly circle. So these knees together as we draw them down further towards the chest. Take them out away from each other, down towards the back of our mat where we bring them back together over the hips. Just noticing the size of our circles this morning. If it feels comfortable too, we can make them a little bit wider, grow them out. Getting that extra opening through the inner thighs, the groin. And then changing directions. Coming back to center, let's lengthen our right leg nice and long. We'll take a half happy baby. So with this left foot, taking hold with that left hand option to place the peace fingers around the big toes, but we're letting that head and shoulders relax to the mat as we draw this left knee down towards the mat beneath the armpit, so that sole of the foot stays open towards the ceiling. If we need to, we can place that hand to the calf or hamstring, if that feels more available. And keeping that right leg nice and long, getting this opening across the hips. And then let's bend this right knee, taking that left foot across. Our thread the needle, that left arm interlacing or drawing through that space between the legs, interlacing the fingers around this right knee or shin or hamstring. We can use that left elbow, a little bit of leverage, getting that deepening through that left glute. Now head and shoulders should be rest to the mat here. If we're really tight, we feel that upper body is drawn up. We can't rest that head. If we've got a pillow at home, maybe two rolled up blankets or towels, put them under there so that we can just relax through this upper body. We're drawing that right leg in, but we're keeping the strength isolated to the arms. So check in with those facial muscles. If they feel tense, seeing if we can soften down while still engaging through the arms to draw that right leg in. Let's release out this side. Returning to our ball, we'll lengthen our left leg out nice and long this time. Taking hold of that right foot, our half happy baby. So that left leg is long, that right knee drawing down towards the mat. Imagine we're shining that sole of our right foot towards the ceiling. All the while as relaxed as we can through the face, the neck, the shoulders, all the way down that left side of the body. As we breathe in, we're aware that we're breathing in, and aware that we're breathing out. When we're ready, bending that left knee, taking that right foot across, our thread the needle on the opposite side, our right arm thread through, interlace the fingers, relax the head and the shoulders, gently drawing that left leg in, keeping the muscles of the face relaxed. Always using our exhales as an opportunity to soften a different area of the body. Notice our most tense area or space. Becoming a little bit more comfortable there. And releasing out this side. Tucking into our ball, rocking forwards and backwards. Making our way up. We're going to lengthen our legs out nice and long. So coming into our hamstring fold, we'll take both legs to start. So sitting nice and tall, lengthening up through the vertebra. Let's inhale, hands rise. As we exhale, keep our chest open as we fold forwards, letting those hands either take hold or rest wherever's comfortable. We can bend these knees as much as we'd like. We want to feel this through the belly of the hamstrings. If that tingling is coming in behind the knees, add that extra little bend. Draw that belly button towards the thighs. So desk working, sitting on couches, car seats. Bringing this lengthening into the hammies. Stretching it out, using that breath. Notice the tension we're feeling through the backs of the legs, the hamstrings. And just watching it with each breath. So just notice the little changes in flexibility, mobility, or even the sensation of the stretch with each breath, seeing if it softens a little bit further. We're using these full inhales and exhales. Deepen into it. Releasing hold. We'll tuck this left foot in towards the thigh. So taking that breath in to sit nice and tall. Rise up through the sides of the body. Exhale, take that fold. So squaring off over this right leg now. Again, we can have as much bend through that knee. My hamstrings are very tight this morning. An option to hold here, if we'd like to take it into a little side stretch, you might like to open up through this left arm, reaching those fingertips forward, stacking the shoulders and opening through the chest. We'll feel that lengthening down that left side of the body towards that left side hip. So it's just an option we can take. If we're happy in that fold, we can. Just mindful, if we are taking this opening, that we're not sort of halfway, we're not folding, getting that arch to the back. We want to open the chest, focusing on widening the collarbones, keeping those shoulders relaxed away from the ears. So if there's any hunching in the neck, see if we can draw those shoulder blades down while reaching out through these left fingertips. It's a nice little additional side stretch. Another breath in here. Exhale, releasing down. Use our in-breath to sit tall. Stack the vertebra. We're taking this left leg over the right. So we're going to come into our twist. We'll inhale this right arm up, taking that elbow across the thigh. Inhale to lift. Exhale to twist. This is one where we want to check in with that quality of the breath. If we're using that right arm to leverage ourselves or force ourselves into that twist. So we're using it for leverage, but we don't want to push ourselves to a point where that breath shortens or feels constricted. We want to feel the opening up through the vertebra while still being able to take those deep belly breaths. So we're lifting through the crown of the head. Take another breath in. Exhale to come back to center. Lengthening that left leg nice and long. That's right foot tucking in towards the thigh. Inhale, tall, lengthen. Exhale, chest open as we fold. Reach through those fingertips. And resting or holding, whatever's available. Straight leg or bent knee. Using that breath as a way to get a bit more comfortable. So option here, if we'd like to take that little side stretch, we can open up through that right side this time, lengthening through the fingertips. And then releasing that hand down to the mat. We'll inhale to sit tall, taking this right foot over the left leg. Inhaling that left arm up. Exhale, taking that elbow across the thigh. Inhale to lift. Exhale to twist. Prioritize that breath. And then we can look at deepening into our twist. As we take those inhales into the belly, should feel them reaching, spreading all the way up to the collarbones. One more inhale. Exhale back through center. Taking our cross-legged position here. Sitting up nice and tall. Let's inhale, hands rise. Exhale, we'll place our right hand to the mat, reaching those left fingertips across, getting a little further side stretch here. Let's inhale, rise. Exhale, opposite side. Beautiful. Inhale to lift. So we're lengthening up the sides of the body, reaching through those fingertips. As we place that hand to mat, we're grounding through the opposite side hip, creating as much space as we can between that pinky finger and the hips on each side. Taking one more through each. Inhaling tall. And then exhaling, we'll take these hands to the lap, interlacing the fingers on our in-breath, keeping those shoulders relaxed. We'll draw the hands up towards the chest as we exhale, rounding through the spine, pressing away through the arms nice and long. Inhale, hands rise, nice and tall. Exhale, releasing them down, interlacing the fingers behind the hips. Let's inhale, open through the chest, getting this nice little heart opening. Exhale, hands back to lap. Interlace the fingers, inhale, rise. Exhale, big push away. Inhale, lift it tall. Exhale, softly releasing these hands down behind. Interlace, shoulders relaxed to open. Exhale, hands to center. One more time, inhale, lift. Big push away. Rise it up, lengthen. And release. Inhale to open. Exhale, relax. Coming into our neck, we'll inhale this left arm up and over. Drawing into the side. Just a gentle pull. We're not trying to force, feeling into that right side neck. And releasing softly, turning the gaze, tucking the chin. And coming back to center. So inhaling, right arm up and over. Keeping tall through this upper body. Releasing gently, so we're turning this gaze. We're looking past the armpit to the floor, that chin tucks in. If those shoulder blades, shoulders have crept up, seeing if we can release them down a little further. And release this side. Walk these hands forwards, coming into our tabletop position. So stacking shoulders, elbows, palms, spreading fingers wide, knees underneath the hips. We're going to inhale and we're going to open the chest towards the front of the mat. As we exhale, tucking that tailbone under, rounding through the spine. Press through those arms. So inhale, open. Widening through the collarbones, lifting up through the tailbone. Exhale, core engages, pressing strong, those palms flat into the mat. Moving in time with our breath. Checking in here, noticing our tight spots, where we find that restriction along the spine, along the vertebra the most. Easing into a little bit more movement into these spaces. And then returning back to our tabletop. Tucking our toes under, coming into our downward facing dog. Lengthening up. You can pedal out here, alternating left and right. So those fingers are spread wide, palms pressed flat. Lifting through those sit bones as that chest comes towards the thighs. We can hold here. This is where I take my modification, my downward puppy. You can add a little nod, yes or no. Just making sure we're not trying to hold that head up with any tension through the neck. Letting it hang like a heavy bowling ball. And from whichever option we've taken, we'll walk these feet in towards the front of our mat. So as many steps as we like, lengthen through the backs of the legs. Coming into our ragdoll. Taking our fold here, bend those knees. Taking elbows with opposite hands. A little sway left and right. Check in that lower back if you've got that tightness like I do through the hamstrings, that compression through the lower back. Bend the knees a little further. It'll get you more comfortable here. And then releasing the hands towards the mat. We'll slowly uncurl the vertebra, standing tall. Making our way all the way up. And tuck that. Coming into our Tadasana, we're going to spread our fingers nice and wide, taking a big shrug of the shoulders up, back and down. So we're still lifting tall through the crown of the head. Fingers are spread wide. We're going to inhale, hands rise. As we exhale, we'll take our fold. So keeping this chest open all the way down, taking our forward fold. We can bend our knees if we've got that tightness. We'll inhale a half lift, palms running up the shins, flatten through the back, lengthening the crown. Exhale, fold. Bend those knees. This time on an inhale, we'll rise all the way tall, lengthening up. Adding our back bend. So we're going to exhale, open through the chest. Core and the glutes are working, engaged. Inhale, rise. Exhale, dive it over. Starting to warm up through the body now. So inhale, half lift. Keep those shoulders relaxed back. Exhale, fold. Press through the feet, bend the knees. Inhale to rise. Exhale, opening through the heart. Inhale, lift. Exhale, fold it forwards. Inhale, half lift. Exhale, forward fold. We're going to come into our little twist here. So we're going to bend our right knee a little further, inhaling those left fingertips up towards the ceiling. As we exhale, that hand returns to either the mat, the toes, the shins, wherever's most comfortable. Inhale, swapping sides. So we don't have to have these hands touching the floor. We're just moving in time with our breath here. We're getting this lengthening along the backs of the legs. We can have these hands resting to shins or thighs, whatever helps us open up through the chest. So just continuing to move through here. If we're trying to touch the ground, but we're hunching over in that upper back, bend the knees a little further or rest those hands to thighs. So I really like this one. It helps us focus on getting this twist through the upper body, opening up the spine, the vertebra, the chest, while also getting this lengthening down the back of each leg. Taking one more round through each side, and then we'll return back to our forward fold. And moving in time with that breath. From our forward fold, this time we're going to inhale, half lift. Exhale our hands to mat, stepping back to our high plank. So we're on our toes or our knees here, so we've got our modification. We can have those knees to the mat, but we want to focus on keeping that core engaged, that belly button hugging in. We've got that tailbone tucking under, so that sad puppy dog. Tilt, so the front tips of the hips draw towards the ribs. And we're going to hold here. So we're holding the pose, but not our breath. Keep that breath flowing. Should be at ease with our inhales and exhales. If we feel those hips dipping, lower to the knees or bring them in a little bit closer. Take another breath in. Exhale, chaturanga. Lowering down, strong and steady. As we inhale, we'll take our back bend, so either into our cobra or upward facing dog, and then exhale, downward facing dog. Another few breaths here. I'm going to take my modification. Continuing to lift through those sit bones. We're getting that nice inverted V shape through the body. This time, on an in-breath, we're going to gaze forwards, bend those knees, step or hop our feet to the front of our mat. Inhale, half lift. Exhale, fold. Inhale, rise it up all the way tall. Exhale to back bend, get that opening. Inhale, lift. Exhale, dive it. Half lift. Hands to mat, either stepping or hopping back to high plank this time. Taking our breath in. Exhale, chaturanga. Inhale to open. Exhale, downward facing dog. Inhale that left heel to sky. Exhale, step it through, crescent lunge. So stepping that left foot, framing the foot, ball of our back foot, rise it up. And just deepening down into our lunge here. So we're getting into that right hip flexor here. I've done a shonky job with my microphone this morning. So either holding here, or we can take our hands to heart center, coming into our twist, that right elbow across the left thigh, taking that opening, just being nice and long through the spine, imagining that puppet string through the crown of our head. Option here, we can either press the palms firm, or we can open that hand span, perhaps gazing up towards the top thumb tip, checking in with that balance and the breath in the twist. So the more comfortable we are in our breath, the more comfortable we'll become in our bodies. Take a breath in. Exhale, take these hands back to heart center if we haven't already. Use our inhale to come tall. Exhale, frame the front foot, step it back to our plank. We're moving through our flow. Take that breath in. Our core is engaged. Belly button hugging. Exhale, lower down. Inhale to open. Exhale, downward dog. Inhale, right heel to sky. Exhale, step it through, crescent lunge. Take our time, stabilize. When we're ready, rising up. So we're long up through the sides of the body. Deepening a little into our lunge. Relax those shoulders, shoulder blades. Take a breath in. Option to hold here or on the exhale. Hands to heart center, that left elbow across the thigh. Steadying here. Option to press those palms in or expanding out. Bringing that gaze wherever's comfortable, either out to the side, maybe towards that thumb tip. And breathe. Taking our breath in. Exhale, hands to heart center. Inhale, coming tall. Exhale, frame the foot. Stepping back, high plank. Take our breath in. Exhale, as we lower, we're feeling those elbows graze the sides of the body. They're in nice and tight. Inhale, open with shoulders relaxed. Exhale, downward dog. Let's come back to our child's pose. So we're just down, lowering those knees to the mat. Hips back to heels, taking a moment. Tuck that back in. So we're at full rest here. We're allowing as much of ourselves to sink into the ground as we can. And just noticing the parts of the body in contact with the floor. See if we can bring a little bit more of ourselves into that. Let's inhale to our tabletop. We're going to come into our downward dog. So if you'd like to come straight into it, you can. If you'd like to take a flow, propping up to our high plank, moving through the vinyasa, using our breath as our guide for the movement. Returning to our downward facing dog. And then inhaling that left heel to sky. Exhale, stepping it through between the hands, coming into our low lunge. We're bringing that right knee down to the mat. Apologies if you can hear my neighbour vacuuming. So we're going to either options. We can frame that front foot with the hands. We can rest it to that front thigh, deepening down that way. If we'd like to add a little back bend, we can interlace those fingers, opening up through the chest. Or if we'd like to this morning, taking hold of that back foot, we can place our right hand for support on the inside of that left foot, reaching back with the left hand and drawing that heel in towards the hip. So I'll mention this every time we do it. That thumb we want facing the ceiling, so we don't want to be turning that shoulder in. Open shoulder position, drawing that heel in towards the hip. So it's our hitchhiker's thumb position. Thumbs up, good. Thumbs down, not so good. So feeling those hips sink a little deeper. All of our options in this lunge position. We're just softening through the hips, seeing if we're not pushing ourselves to the floor, but we're just seeing what we can let go of. It just comes naturally with each breath. That body gives us a little bit more to work with or to lean into, and that's all we're taking. If any of our stretches feel like an exerted effort, we want to ease out. We want to take a rest from that over-striving that we do in our day-to-day life. We're just here to listen to where the body wants us to move through. We've taken that back foot, we can release it down. If we're in any of our other lunge positions or other options, we just press ourselves up. We're going to come into our hamstring stretch. We're lengthening nice and long through this left leg, that left side hip, drawing back. So supporting with the hands here, we'll open up through the chest, taking our fold. Actually, I'll give the option, if you'd like to come into the splits this morning, whatever version of splits is comfortable for us. Now at Hanumanasana, we're taking this fold and just widening the space between the legs, so we're expanding that space a little further. So our splits are just whatever we make it. We're just taking that space. It's not about hips to floor, it's just about getting this opening through the hamstrings or lengthening through the hamstrings and that right hip flexor. So I talk about that Goldilocks point, that top of the bell curve, where we want to be comfortable in our discomfort. If it's a constant strain to hold, ease out. Find that sweet spot where we're still getting into that stretch without feeling like we're pushing our boundaries. If you're looking for that, I suggest gymnastics. Yoga is much more about maybe longevity for our muscles. Okay, so from here, if we've taken our split option, we're going to come back into our hamstring fold. So that right knee comes back beneath the body. Now, we're going to come up into our Warrior 3, our balance. So if we'd like these hands for support beside us, we can. If you'd like an extra little balance challenge, knee's a bit tender today, we can interlace the fingers behind the back, opening up through the chest. So we're going to bend this left knee, pressing off the back foot into our Warrior 3. So take as many steps as we need to. If we're coming up into this balance, we're at home, so if we've got a wall or a couch we'd like to take hold, we can use that for support. So we can either take our bind behind or we can have these hands to heart center. But just set our gaze on that one still point down in front of us on the floor. We're lifting through that right heel. And then releasing our bind if we've taken it. Take these hands to heart center. We're coming into tree pose, keeping this balance on our left foot. Let's draw this right knee towards the chest. So up nice and tall, we're going to take this right foot, I'll do a little pivot here. We're taking this right foot either against the heel, against the calf, or we can bring it up in against that thigh. Just checking in that we're not pressed against the knee. It's the part of the leg that doesn't like that pressure. So hands to heart center, getting this opening through the hips. If we're comfortable here, we can start to rise up through the hands. And we can either spread out through both arms. If we'd like an extra little balance challenge today, just that right arm coming out to the side. And bringing our gaze over the fingertips. Now check in with how tense we are holding our balance. Let's feel that dissolve all the way down through that left foot. As if the body's just melting down into that base. Whichever option we've taken, bringing those hands back to center. Down to heart, we're going to come back into our crescent lunge. So we're drawing this right knee towards the chest, stepping it back slow and controlled. Core is working. Back to the ball of our back foot. I'm going to do a little pivot here. So I'm back in position. Let's inhale, hands rise. Exhale, frame that front foot, stepping back to our plank. Take our breath in. Exhale, chaturanga. Inhale, up dog or cobra. Exhale, downward facing dog. Let's inhale this right heel to sky. Exhale, step it through. So we're taking our low lunge option, that left knee releasing to the mat. So whatever we like here, support with the hands. Taking those hands resting to that front thigh. We can interlace, adding our back bend if we're particularly tight through the upper back this morning. Or we've got our option to lower that left hand for support. Reaching that right hand, thumb, hitchhiker's position, heel in towards the hip. So it might be a different position from one side to the other. We're not trying to even them out. We're just finding whatever works for whichever side for our bodies today. We've taken hold of the back foot, releasing down. Framing this front foot, lengthening to our hamstring fold. So as much bend as we'd like in that knee. Now option if we'd like to. We can either take that heel further forward or bringing that knee further back. So this can be another one sensitive for the knees. So I should have mentioned that before. My knees are quite okay with a hard surface. My ankles, not so much. So being at home, if you've got that towel, folded up tea towel or blanket to place under the knee, or a pillow, if you do have that tenderness against a hard surface, you can. My heels don't particularly like that. So whatever you need for your own support. It's the benefit of practicing at home is we can have all these self-made props available. So remembering we can come in and out of these at any time as well. If it feels too intense, or even if it starts feeling good for us, but anything changes, that sensation changes, and we're just sort of holding there for the sake of holding there. If it no longer serves us, just ease your way out. Listen to the body. getting ready to come up into our balance. So if we've taken this split, drawing those legs back a little bit closer together. So we're either supported, or if we'd like that extra balance challenge, interlacing those fingers behind the hips. We're going to bend this front knee, tucking those back toes under, pressing off into our warrior three. Take a few steps if that feels good. Keeping our chest open, shoulders relaxed back as we lift up through that left heel. Find that spot on the ground, any of our balance, so our gaze, known as our drishti, is important. So I mentioned earlier, the more comfortable we are in the breath, the more comfortable we are in the pose. It's the same with our gaze, especially with this balance. So if we set our gaze, the more stable we are in our gaze, the more stable we are in our balance, as well as that stability of breath, or that ease of flow between inhale to exhale. If we haven't already, we'll take these hands to heart center, bending that left knee as we come tall. Whoa, a bit wobbly this morning. So we're lifting that knee towards the chest, taking our tree pose. So that foot against heel, calf, or inner thigh. I'm feeling a bit off balance this morning. Some days you have it, some days you don't. So once we're settled here, if it feels good to take those hands up tall, we can, either branching both arms out or just that left arm. Feeling the back of the body soften down here, so especially as we take those arms up, if it feels scrunched, just ease that down. Option for just the left arm out to the side. And we can bring that gaze over the fingertips if it feels good. And bringing hands back to heart center. Keeping this balance if we can, so staying in this right foot, we're drawing that left knee to chest, slow and steady. Coming back as we release that back foot to the mat. Spin around here, coming back into our crescent lunge. Inhale, hands rise. Exhale, frame the foot. Step it back to high plank, toes or knees. Take our chaturanga. Inhale to our back bend. Exhale, downward dog. And then releasing those knees to the mat. Taking our child's pose. Easing into it, so feeling those hips soften down towards the heels. We can have arms out stretched in front or relax down by the body. Expand that breath against the inner thighs. Deepen a little bit more of ourselves into the floor. We make our way back up to tabletop. We'll come into our downward dog either directly, or if we'd like to, we can take our flow. Once we've made our way back to down dog, we'll inhale this right heel to sky. Coming into our pigeon pose, that right foot towards the left wrist, lengthening that left leg long. Getting ourselves comfortable and easing our way down. Keeping that left hip low. Any props, pillows, blocks, bolsters, blankets, anything we've got, if we'd like to use it, we can. So just practicing this non-doing. Our pigeon pose. Sort of like comparing sailing with rowing a boat. using less effort, this tactical passivity. We're just getting ourselves into a position, so like the sails on that boat. Gravity does our work, just like the wind does. We don't have to be exerting effort to get benefit from this posture. So I've had a vacuum cleaner. I'm not sure if now you can hear one of my neighbours is nailing something into the wall by the sounds of it. Part of the practice. We're going to move into our other side when we're ready. So yogi's choice of how we get there. We can just move through downward dog, switch directly, or take this vinyasa if we like the movement through the body, if we're here to warm it up. Especially in these cold mornings, we can take these extra flows so it helps warm up the muscles, getting into the breath. When we're ready, inhaling that left heel to sky, stepping it through towards that right wrist or lowering it towards that right wrist. Lengthen the right side, ease that right hip, making ourselves as comfortable as possible. Take those little movements, adjustments, anything we need. A minute or two down the track, you can, if we're not completely comfortable, what starts off as a slight discomfort can build up. So prioritize our own comfort for our practice. There are poses that are made to challenge us, maybe some of that balance we did before. But our pigeon is not that. So from here, as we make our way out, we just press through the hands and we're going to lower this left side down to the mat. Bringing both legs to the front. Time has flown a lot faster than what I thought this morning, and I've got a Zoom meeting coming up very soon. So just take our hands behind the hamstrings, easing our way down. We're going to come into our final rest, our Shavasana, as we lengthen through the legs and the arms. Getting ourselves comfortable. Have I used that word enough this morning? So, any little movements that we need or like. This final Shavasana, this final posture, our corpse pose. Taking this time again to just let both the body and the mind be at rest. As we take these last few moments, enjoying turning inward. As we breathe in, we're aware that we're breathing in. And aware that we're breathing out. We add wriggle to fingers and toes. Inhale, arms up overhead. Lengthen out, take our final stretch all the way as long as we can from head to toes, fingertips to toes. Rolling over to one side. And then gently bringing ourselves up to seated. Sitting nice and tall with that first breath in, taking our hands to heart center. Our mental and physical snapshot, our check-in of how we feel post-practice compared to when we first started. Grateful for taking this time, especially during isolation, for coming to our mats and just starting off our day or maybe finishing up with this practice of self-care. As we bow our heads to our hands, we honour ourselves and each other with Namaste. Thank you very much, yogis. Enjoy the rest of your day.